Hi everyone, today let's talk about the Yellow Trucking bankruptcy, then we'll take a look at the economic data, and Max Payne. Then we'll take a look at the charts, which were pretty uneventful today, as well as my results for the session and my thoughts going into tomorrow's session. If you like trading stocks and options and making money, definitely like and subscribe. I make videos like this every single day that the markets are open as well as Sundays, so make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Welcome to the Portfolio Bulletin. Let's get started. So the Yellow Trucking Company is going bankrupt, and they say that they had around 22,000 unionized workers, and 3 years ago they took a $700 million loan from the government in order to stay afloat during the pandemic, and they expect around 30,000 jobs to be at stake. This is the largest trucking bankruptcy in U.S. history, and honestly this seems like a pretty isolated issue around the union that was basically extorting them. They say the union had been in contentious negotiations with Yellow, and then they received a legal notice saying that Yellow is going to cease operations and file for bankruptcy. The union Teamsters are saying this is a sad day for American workers in the freight industry, which is a pretty interesting statement coming from someone who was basically negotiating for more money right up until the company went bankrupt. They say here the Teamsters were threatening to strike just a week ago before Yellow agreed to pay some more extended health benefits for workers as they missed a $50 million payment to the fund on July 15th. They even recognize here that Yellow lost 80% of its volume in the span of a week, obviously making it very difficult for them to make money. And they say, of course, both sides own some of the fault, saying that Yellow was mismanaging their finances, and this is certainly possible. But it is pretty hard to argue that the company made only $21 million last year, and by fall of 2024, they owed $1.3 billion. That means they made about 1.5% of the money that they would have needed to actually pay for this loan, and it makes obvious sense that they were going to go bankrupt. And it seems pretty crazy to me that the union Teamsters were trying to negotiate for more money right up until the company went bankrupt. This is not to say that unions are trash or that they should not exist ever, but they have to be reasonable. These companies cannot just pay out more and more money forever, and they literally threatened to strike the week before the company went bankrupt. Obviously, those people are not going to get any pensions, and any of that money that was previously promised is now not going to happen. In terms of the economy, hopefully this is an isolated event and we're not starting to see some larger companies with 30,000 employees like this one starting to go bankrupt, but it is definitely something to keep an eye on. Moving over to the economic calendar, you can see CPI for the Eurozone coming in higher than expectations. Month over month headline was actually lower, so that's good. GDP also doing better than expectations. Just that core inflation continues to be sticky. Moving over to tomorrow, don't forget ISM Manufacturing, PMI at 10 o'clock, as well as the JOLTS report. Moving over to earnings, basically nothing interesting for today. Looking at tomorrow, we have Merck & Co., Toyota, Pfizer, AMD, definitely going to be an interesting one after hours. Starbucks, also fairly interesting, as well as Caterpillar. Moving over to Max Payne, you can see it's currently sitting at 455 for the end of the week, so that moved up pretty substantially. Not very many more options than we saw going into the weekend, only 800,000 now. But look at all these puts in comparison to the calls. Still tons of bearishness in the markets. And it seems to me that we're not going to fall too far until we start to see these calls outweigh these puts. And we're just not seeing that yet on the SPY. Moving over to the charts, we're going to flow through these pretty quickly. As you can see, there was very little movement. We did spike up right at the end of the day after hitting the 55 EMA here on the hourly chart, holding above my 457.57 level. If we see another spike up to trend, you could see a push to 461. That would be interesting. But right now, momentum basically zero, movement basically zero, and it does seem like this rally is starting to fade, again indicating that we might be getting a little bit deeper pullback soon. Moving over to the NASDAQ, very similar thesis, went straight sideways from this previous chop on Friday, still holding just below my 384.16 level, touched that after hours, and then we're falling a little bit. Couldn't get above that level, couldn't break down below this indicator that I had at 382.42. That was the previous low that I was watching on Friday as well. It does seem like we're seeing a little bit of weakness after hours, and it could be. We've talked about this consolidation, lower high potentially setting up. It does look a little weaker than it did on Friday. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow. Russell showing strength, getting up to that next level, holding right there at the close. If this continues tomorrow, going to look for more bullish positions. Dow right on that trend, very slowly grinding higher. Momentum negative, RSI moving sideways, very similar to the NASDAQ and SPY. Russell definitely showing the most strength going into tomorrow's session. Moving over to copper divided by gold just for a moment, you can see it looks like we've set up a little bit of a base here, holding just above that 55 EMA, starting to curl up, potentially showing some bullishness into the next couple of weeks. If this trend continues, that could indicate some more highs to come across the markets. We'll see how that plays out, but showing a little bit of strength here on copper versus gold. Moving over to Apple and Tesla, you can see Tesla going straight sideways again, right at the highs, just like the NASDAQ, holding above these levels, but still below the 55 on the 4-hour chart. Apple holding right at its highs also, still above the 9 EMA as well as VWAP, but not getting above these previous highs. Moving over to the top performers for the day, we have ROKU. I was watching this back here in May, looking for this rally up to $74, which did happen. Then we pulled back and I kind of stopped watching it here, but apparently we got another continuation run and then a massive breakout here over the last 2 days. Definitely interesting. NFLX also rallying pretty strongly today, up around 3%. Stuck at the 55 EMA here on the 4-hour chart, but bullish momentum, bullish RSI, and it does look a little bit better than the major indices right now. Moving over to staples and discretionary. Staples pulling back, discretionary rallying a little bit. We've been seeing a rotation into security, but that kind of flipped a little bit today. Not very much, and I don't really expect that to continue, but it did happen, and it's worth seeing for today. Moving over to best sectors, we have financials and oil and gas. Financials rallying a little bit after the down move on Thursday. Still haven't taken out those highs yet, but it is rallying. Oil and gas also rallying. Not much to say, just continues to go straight up. We've been talking about it for a while. Continues to look very good. Moving over to breadth on the 50 and 200, basically sideways on the 50, slightly bullish. 200-day definitely showing more strength. Momentum on both of these is still bearish, so it's not showing a flip on that yet, but you have to respect the move that we got here today on the 200. Retesting this trend line, if we get a continuation higher above 76, then we could be looking for a move back into that 91 area, looking for that culminating push in my opinion. Moving over to the dollar here on the 4-hour and the daily, continuing to show strength. Ended up holding as we retested the 101.57 level. Now it's pushing above the 200 on the 4-hour. And if this holds, we would be above all the EMAs and SMAs on the 4-hour chart, which would be quite bullish in my opinion. Momentum, still bullish. RSI, still showing room for strength. Daily chart, similar thesis. Bullish momentum. RSI above the 50, looking strong. If it takes out this level that we've been watching here at 102, then you have to look for a push up to the 144 EMA on the daily chart, up at 102.70. And if this continues to show strength, we should expect equities to be showing a little bit more weakness in the weeks to come. Moving over to JNK and TLT. JNK still chopping in the zone, showed some strength today, bullish momentum, bullish RSI, but still consolidating right on top of that 92.50 level. TLT retesting the VWAP as well as 9 EMA, and it is back below $100 here going into the end of day. TLT still looking weak as yields continue to hold at pretty high levels. Moving over to the volatility indices, VIX gapped up, hit the 144, sold off into the end of day. Move index rallied a little bit, again, not showing much of anything here. Just keeping an eye on it, waiting for these to consolidate, and then we might see a spike up on the VIX as we move into the next week or two. Moving over to my accounts here, you can see I had a lot of positions on the IWM. I ended up selling some puts early in the session, which ended up working out well. I probably should have rolled these calls out to Wednesday to try to get a little bit more money, but we'll see how that plays out going into tomorrow's session. Otherwise, I had a put here on the IWM at 182. That worked out. I sold one here at 183 for only 81 cents credit, so not a lot of credit available on the NASDAQ, especially on a day like today where it goes straight sideways. No opportunities really to get in at better prices. Still neutral on the NASDAQ as we continue to chop sideways, but I am starting to favor a little bit more bearishness as we cannot make new highs in the short term. IWM obviously bullish going into tomorrow's session. Let me know down in the comment section what you think of yellow trucking, and if you think that's a localized issue or something that's more systemic. Definitely like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video, and make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.